Promotional consideration paid for by the following. ZEUS Mini Mints with NutraSweet. The only little mint that's sugar-free. That great, cool, clean taste of ZEUS. Bubble Yum Bubblegum. Full of the big delicious taste that bombs your buds with flavor. It'll pop you non-stop. Bubble Yum keeps it poppin'. For long-lasting breath protection, plus fluoride to strengthen teeth, use Listament. Make your mouth a cleaner place with Listament.
The WWF, what the world is watching. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade, now at episode 203. I am Ray Russell, and this week, guys, we close out the month of June 1989 in the World Wrestling Federation, looking at the final week of June TV. Want to thank everybody for their patience last week. We had attempted to drop this program last week, with a lot of things going on, everything from our air unit outside taking a kaput on us, had to have a part replaced and repaired, and unfortunately it was well over 100 degrees on the heat index outside. But I had a couple of friends over there in the UK say, Ray, you got to toughen up, you got to man up. Over here we're not even built for air units. We just deal with it. We bitch a lot, but we deal with the heat. And so it wasn't so much me. I don't think we got an air conditioner way back in the 1980s. Got a Sears air conditioner, and boy did that thing work for a long time. Could have refrigerated a butcher shop. But I think it was about maybe 7, 8 years old before we got our first air conditioner. So I had been through it, but I was more worried about my kids. Turns out it was the teenagers complaining, and the little ones didn't really sell it, just kind of sitting around on their tablets like nothing was any different than the huge. But I'm happy to say that we only had to deal with that for about 24 hours. And then unfortunately, all of the smoke and the air quality got really terrible down here in the state of Ohio and some of the other states here along the Great Lakes, unfortunately, due to the wildfires of Canada. And I want to send all my best to anybody up north that's had to experience this situation, because if the air quality was over, the index, I believe, was over 500 here, which is considered extremely hazardous. And that's all the way down here in Ohio. So I can only imagine what they're putting up with up there in the Great White North, if you will. So hopefully everybody up there is safe and remains healthy. And we're certainly praying for everybody and hoping for the best outcome possible in the days to come there with that wildfire situation. Now, getting back on topic here this week, we got another week of television, as I mentioned, then we'll move into the month of July. I can't believe it. We got a Saturday night's main event coming up in July. We've got SummerSlam coming in the month of August. Lots of great stuff to jump into. And before we do that, just want to wish happy birthday to my son Connor, who turned 17 this week. Unbelievable, buddy. Very proud of you. Heading into 11th grade, already taking some courses, preparing for college and broadcast journalism. Going to follow in the footsteps of Bobby Heenan, I suppose. But very proud of you, buddy. He's also my wrestling super fan of my children, doing a lot of deep diving and binging of the old school. Currently, he's the one I've been discussing, currently binging the WCW. He started all the way back with the Mid-Atlantic JCP that was available in 1981. Every summer he gets out of school, spends most of the summer when he's not doing something else, watching baseball, going outside, whatever, binging World Championship Wrestling. He's spent about 4 years doing it now, and I believe right now he is smack dab in the middle of the fall of 1997, so he's matriculating his way to the demise of WCW. But that's where he's at. But where we're at right now, guys, is going back in time, June 24th, 1989, more WWF Superstars of Wrestling. All right, away we go. It is Superstars. June the 24th, tape back June 6th, Madison, Wisconsin at the Dane County Coliseum. We're at a new set of tapings, guys. It's Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura on the call. We head to the ring for the reigning WWF Tag Team Champions. Been over a year now, talking about acts in Smash Demolition. Their opponents, Tom Stone and Chris Curtis. We're going to get an insert promo here from the Twin Towers and Doctor of Style Slick, who state they're going to shatter the dreams of the painted-faced punks when they take their tag team titles. In the ring, Tom Stone going to try to exchange punches with Smash. A for effort, but bad idea, Tom. Demolition quickly taking over control, hammering Stone into mere pebbles. See what I did there? Tag out to Chris Curtis, who gets more of the same, as it is demolish and destroy. Demolition decapitation finisher on Curtis. Axe going to get the pin. 2 minutes and 29 seconds, whether it's the Twin Towers, the Brainbusters, or anybody else stepping in the way, Demolition has been knocking them down. We'll have to wait and see what the next challenge is, what lies ahead. As we go off now to Update, and Mean Gene Okerlund going back to last week's Honky Tonk Man attack on one Superfly Jimmy Snuka right there on the Brother Love show. Now Honky Tonk blasting Snuka repeatedly with a guitar, kind of revenge for a recent, well, I guess Honky would say unprovoked assault when Snuka dove off that platform onto HTM. Honky Tonk looking for a little retribution, a little revenge here, and that he gets. A little light on the guitar swings, but he does lay out the Superfly on Brother. Now Snuka making that comeback, chasing Brother Love off his own set, but we also hear from Honky Tonk and Jimmy Hart here at the end of this replay. They say, what a hit, a blast from the past. Indeed, Honky Tonk Man thought that Jimmy Snuka, he had more fight in him than that. But that's what happens when you screw with the music of the Honky Tonk Man. Playing another tune here in the WWF. Honky Tonk on a bit of a resurgence in his career, coming after the Superfly at a house show near you, as we head back to the ring to witness the debut of the new Barry Windham. That's right, the Widowmaker. Barry Windham has arrived here in the WWF, and his opponent, Frankie DeFalco. And not since the U.S. Express in 1985, former WWF Tag Team Champion with Mike Rotunda, Barry Windham reappearing here in a WWF ring several years later, and an awesome look at this period. We talked about it on the NWA 89 Grenade shows many years ago. Barry Windham just had that look. He had that WWF look right now. If there was a time to jump, this would have been it. Now, unfortunately, lots of things are going to come into play later on in the year of 89 going into 1990 for B-Dub. But here we see the debut of the Widowmaker stalking his way to the ring, if you will. We even get an insert promo from Windham, who says he smells all of the gold here in the WWF, and he wants every bit of it, but especially the World Heavyweight title. And that means you, Hulk Hogan. Well, Vince McMahon on commentary says, that sounds a bit ambitious, pal. Barry Windham immediately going to the top. Jesse Ventura doesn't think so. Vince really downplaying Barry Windham throughout this entire segment, honestly, but the referee in the ring for this one, Danny Davis, says it's quick, easy work for Barry Windham. All the basics in the ring, nice layout, vertical suplex. Some good punches from Barry leading to the superplex. Off the top rope, going to give Windham the win, just 1 minute and 38 seconds. Not very long of a match here for the debut of the Widowmaker. Now, let's talk about the nickname here, because in past shoot interviews, Barry Windham had exclaimed he wasn't happy with the new Ted Turner-led office, specifically Jim Herd being put in charge. Now, I've heard people say that Windham was also paranoid of his spot, how he would be booked, after family friend and booker Dusty Rhodes was demoted and then subsequently left the NWA. Now, Barry says he called Pat Patterson. Pat told him, talk to Vince. And with the money look at the time Barry Windham had going for him, on top of being the natural talent that he was, it seemed like he was destined for a great run here. But again, life happens. Now, before anyone starts what the fuck kind of gimmick is this? How dare they do this to Barry Windham? You should probably know that they who came up with the Widowmaker gimmick in this instance was actually Barry himself. Being from Texas, Barry pitching the idea of the legendary nickname given to some of the meanest bulls on the rodeo circuits. Widowmaker wasn't necessarily any one specific bull, although there were some, I'm sure, named Widowmaker, but rather Widowmakers were the meanest of the mean, the bulls that couldn't be ridden, that crippled those who tried to ride, or in a few instances, killed the cowboys who dared try. Well, I'll tell you this, guys. I wasn't in there with no Widowmaker, but I had an experience in a bullfight, if you will, versus a bull called Hang 'em High. Let me just tell you from firsthand experience, bulls are not something you want to trifle with. As Barry Windham wanted to be that bull, the Widowmaker, I just don't think it translated well to the WWF audience. But the name still sounded cool. Kind of weird for Windham, but a deadly name for sure. And Barry Windham now part of the World Wrestling Federation, as here it is. As promised last week, it's the debut of No Holds Barred, the music video.
You only learn the way you are inside when life gives you the test. Will you back down, turn and run, or stand up with the best? When your back's to the wall, what will your answer be? Will you run for the door? Will you run out on me like it's hard? It's no holds barred. No holds barred. Most people only know the easy way. They'll always close their eyes. Will you make the same excuses? Will you buy into their lies? What will you do? What are you going to say? Will you measure up when people make it so hard? With no holds barred.
Well, a quick shout out to John Paz of the two-man Power Trip Empire. I'm sure he's jamming right now to No Holds Barred. And we get to see the music video here this week on the TV. Highlights from the movie. Don't know that song ever cracked the top 10. Lots of one-hit wonders in the 1980s. I don't think that one quite made it there. But we go back to the ring for King Hacksaw, Jim Duggan, battling Jake the Milkman Milliman. We get an insert promo here from Bobby Heenan and the former King Haku, who plans to regain his crown, which was stolen from him by Jim. Now, we're about a minute into the matchup, and we finally get contact. I guess you need that in order to get to a finish. Jim Duggan blocking a shot, blasting Milliman between the eyes. Milliman going to duck out to the floor. Duggan chasing him around ringside, back in the ring. Milliman running into a standing clothesline from Duggan, leading to the wind-up slam and the three-point stance-in running forearm? Jim Duggan trying out a new finisher here rather than the running clothesline. It's a running forearm. Going to get the win, 1 minute and 48 seconds. Almost a kind of a generic shoulder tackle. I don't think we do this very long. In fact, this is the first time I'm seeing it that I can recall. Anyway, Jim Duggan picking up a victory this week. You're king of the World Wrestling Federation. From there, we move on to a poem from the Genius, who admits that Hulk Hogan was a success in the movie No Holds Barred, but the Macho Man will be taking his belt away. Now, of course, the Genius is going to rhyme that all together there. So the Genius suggesting Hogan more worried about Hollywood than he is his world title. We'll have more on Hollywood and Hulk Hogan later here in this edition of The Grenade. But right now we go back to the ring for the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, with manager Bobby Heenan in their corner, taking on Jim Evans and Jimmy Powers. And Powers in control early on of Tully Blanchard. Arn Anderson got a blind tag in. Gotta love the precision of the Brainbusters here. Powers, though, nearly nabbing an upset on Arn as well with an inside cradle. In fact, Tully comes in, makes the save at the last split second, so maybe the Busters underestimating Jim Powers. But in tags Jim Evans, and Arn Anderson going to lower the boom immediately. Evans telegraphing a backdrop. Arn Anderson taking over, delivering the Spinebuster, connects as the Weasel chants begin in the crowd. Referee Earl Hebner distracted as the Brainbusters landing that illegal double-team spike piledriver on Evans, going to give the Busters the win. 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Teams like the Bushwhackers, Rockers, and even tag team champions Demolition, beware. That spike piledriver, haven't seen anybody get up from it yet. As we continue on, more action in the ring. Hillbilly Jim back on syndicated TV, battling Butler Stevens. as we hear "Don't Go Messing with the Country Boy." Vocals done by Hillbilly Jim himself. That's right, he's back. Hillbilly Jim on our TV screen. Vince McMahon on commentary here, putting over Jim's new gimmick. Going to be carrying with him a lucky horseshoe, reportedly given to him by his grandfather, perhaps his papa, if you will, and he'll bring it with him to ringside moving forward, even though Hillbilly doesn't seem to have it here at this TV taping. I did get a kick out of Jesse referring to the good luck charm as Hillbilly Voodoo. So apparently a gimmick coming along with Hillbilly in the weeks to come, and we'll find out why, as well as in the ring here. Steven's going to bounce off a shoulder block attempt on Big Hillbilly, and it's the big boot from Jim going to make the cover on Stevens. Even wise enough to pull Stevens away from the ropes before making the cover. How about that? Hillbilly Jim scoring the victory, 1 minute and 32 seconds, as we get a little post-match dancing and a cartwheel playing us out to our very first promo of the year for SummerSlam. Feel the heat, the tagline this year. That's right, SummerSlam is on the way, our very first mention, and you know that put me in the mood. Very excited. SummerSlam always dropping around my birthday each and every year. But right now, it's time to open up your souls for the Brother Love Show, says Jesse the Body, as we go off now to Brother Love and his guests, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and bodyguard Virgil. Now, Brother Love going to run down a list of the $1 Million Man's accomplishments, but Love asking DiBiase what he feels his greatest accomplishment is to date. Ted going to reiterate his accolades, purchasing the WWF World title, which has to be near the top, you'd think. Also creating the $1 Million belt, as he shows that off here. But the most recent accomplishment is also the most satisfying, says DiBiase. A promise fulfilled, a lesson he taught to anyone who would ever think about stealing his money. A lesson he taught through that no-good snake, Jake Roberts. DiBiase says anybody who dares cross him or his money will wind up in the hospital, just like Jake. Ted confirming here that Jake Roberts sustained an injury at the hands of the $1 Million Man, even though we saw Jake multiple times after the attack, in action, seemingly fine, but we'll ignore that. DiBiase calls it a career-ending injury. The prognosis is no more wrestling for the Snake Man. No more Jake, no more Damien. Apparently, Jake Roberts has had a disc removed from his neck. So we're announcing it here, courtesy of the $1 Million Man. Jake Roberts out of commission, possibly for good. Now, between the recent arrest on the alleged assault from Jake Roberts stemming back to December of '88, and now neck surgery here, legit neck surgery, by the way, Jake Roberts will remain off TV until the fall. Good way to acknowledge Jake's disappearance and keep the DiBiase-Roberts feud simmering on the back burner until the Snakes return for revenge. Sorry for the spoiler. In the meantime, Ted DiBiase currently working Dusty Rhodes on the house shows. Dusty the fill-in for Jake here over the summer, but no clear picture in sight for the TV storylines of the $1 Million Man.
Hey! Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man! Let me tell you about opportunity. You're talking about the land of opportunity, buying, selling people with $1 Million Man and Virgil, if you will. Now got to understand the common man is out there alive and well, working for a living, not having to grovel for their money like you like to make them do. Common men are everywhere. My daddy was a common man, and I sure am a common man. So now then, if I've dwelled on you about being common, I am common. You, the $1 Million Man, all the money in the world, throwing money around like it's nothing. Hate the common man. Now you got to deal with one thing. Money can't buy the American dream.
The American dream, Dusty Rhodes. He plans to prove to the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, there's more to life here in America than just worrying about money.
But speaking of storylines, we've got one brewing for you guys. Currently in the ring, the Intercontinental Champion ravishing Rick Rude with manager Bobby Heenan battling Sonny Rogers. As we cue the music, Rick Rude, perm in full effect this week, does his shtick here for the Madison morons. We even see a gentleman with maybe a little bit of extra weight around the midsection, pulling his shirt up in the crowd, doing the Rude Awakening, the hip swivel pose, I should say. As we see Rude in the ring, the Intercontinental title not only around his waist, but airbrushed on the front of his tights, and the Ultimate Warrior's face airbrushed on the rear, as in the ass area of the Ravishing One. It's a quick pummeling here for Sonny Rogers. Rick Rude, Rude Awakening, neckbreaker, going to put Rogers down in only 43 seconds. But here we go, guys. Post-match, time for that ritual of the Rude Awakening kiss, with an 80s beauty being brought to ringside, complete with 80s overalls, I should mention. Jesse Ventura going to give her a solid 8 on a scale of 10. Vince McMahon says he doesn't like to rate women. They're all 10s in his book, pal. Sure, Vince. Rick Rude, putting over her looks, says, hey, I bet you make a man at home really happy. But tonight, this lady has the chance to make herself happy with a kiss from Rick Rude. And we're going to do things a little different this week as Rude leans in and closes his eyes for the Super Rude Awakening kiss, Rude allowing the lady to give him the Rude Awakening. Now the female stalls on first attempt. Rick Rude thinks, well, maybe she's a little shy, so he's going to give her a pep talk here. And we're going to try again, and Rick Rude again closing his eyes, leaning in, oblivious to what's about to happen. And as Rick leans in for that big smooch, the woman exits the ring as the Ultimate Warrior rushes in. And boy, does Rick Rude get an awakening as the Warrior Man slugging him. Big clothesline. Down goes the Ravishing One. And the Ultimate Warrior going to hold Rick Rude up over his head. Gorilla Press walking around. The crowd going nuts here. Gorilla Press dropped the Warrior, dropping Rude center ring. Monstrous ovation from the fans out here. Bobby Heenan yanking Rude out to safety by his ankles, pulling Rude out of the ring, but the Intercontinental title belt left on the canvas. Warrior going to grab hold of the IC title in celebration as Rick Rude and Bobby Heenan take off for the locker room. Wow, what a segment here. I mean, I remember watching this when it aired. I remember they show the replay, I believe, at SummerSlam as well. Very famous segment here where the Warrior gives Rude an awakening, all right. A big punch to the kissy face that Rick Rude was making. Of course, his eyes closed. Perfect timing. The Warrior hitting the ring. Jesse Ventura's commentary here is gold. Really ripping into, was that winch part of the attack? Was this a setup? Well, how could it be? Rick Rude was the one who offered to close his eyes. Jess, I'm just saying. But my God, if you go back and watch this segment, I posted it on social media. I'm sure it's pretty much anywhere you want to look. And this is why the Ultimate Warrior was my guy in 1989 as a kid. Perfectly booked segment, perfect opponent in Rick Rude, awesome look on the Warrior. Comic book superhero comes to life. That's exactly what this is right here, as the Ultimate Warrior coming for Rick Rude and what was once his Intercontinental title. As we go off now to a Dusty Rhodes vignette, and we are now flip-flopping the videos, going all the way back to week 1. What was on Superstars is on Challenge. What was on Challenge is now on Superstars. And this week on Superstars, we get week 1 vignette from Challenge. It's Dusty Rhodes shoveling fuel, if you will. The fuel being horseshit. Dusty Rhodes shoveling in a barn somewhere. So we continue on back to the ring for the Barbarian in singles competition with Mr. Fuji by his side, taking on Tom Stock, not Tom Stark as shown here on the Chiron. Complete dominance as usual. Big nasty boot from the Barbarian, setting up that top rope flying clothesline. Thing of beauty. Never seen a 300-pound man fly quite like the Barbarian. Gonna get the win 1 minute and 45 seconds. Barbarian had the look, the power, even had the agility for a guy his size, but just something missing. And I don't know what it was. Had just about everything here. Maybe a better mouthpiece, but then he gets Bobby Heenan in a year. So who's to say? It's really unfortunate to see the Barbarian, and we know he's going to wind up back in the Powers of Pain before too long, as we learn next week here on Superstars. The Hart Foundation will reunite. Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart. Will it be permanent? We'll have to wait and see. But the Hart Foundation here in tag team competition. Plus, the likes of Bad News Brown, Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, Haku in the ring, along with the fabulous Rougeaus brothers, the Red Rooster, and we're going to see perhaps the syndicated in-ring debut of the Genius. We've seen him on Primetime. We've seen him on the house shows. We've certainly seen his poetry. And now Lanny Poffo going to step in the ring as the Genius here for the first time on Superstars. And if all of that wasn't enough, the Brother Love Show with guests Slick and Rick Martel. Well, as we wrap up this week's program, I should mention at some point, and I don't have it in my notes, but I do recall some point in this program on Superstars, we get a Get Well Jake address. You guys can send your postcards to, your letters, if you will. It's the annual stockpile of addresses for the WWF to send their winter catalog to for the Christmas season. And all you guys were doing was wishing Jake well. So we learned this week that Jake Roberts is out, Barry Windham has arrived, No Holds Barred still exists, and SummerSlam is right around the corner. Feel the heat. And we're going to feel the heat here in just a moment with another edition of Wrestling Challenge, the debut of Tony Schiavone on the broadcast booth for Challenge. But first, we're going to take this quick WrestleCopia timeout.
Relive the glory days of Memphis wrestling with the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. Each week, we go back in time to review USWA Championship Wrestling from the 1990s, episode by episode. Join us for watch-alongs, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive interviews with people who were there and lived it. Whether you grew up watching it or you're discovering it for the first time, this podcast is your ringside seat to Memphis wrestling history. It's all a part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Listen now at USWApodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here. Lots of new stuff happening here at WrestleCopia, and I want to update you on everything going on with the brand right now. First and simple, if you haven't checked out our website at WrestleCopia.com, it's a great way to keep up with the latest episodes of all of your favorite Copia programming, from the Wrestling Memory Grenade to Regional Wrestling with the Territory Talk, the Wrestling Stoop with the legendary Bob Roop, Professor Dan Ginnity and the Pro Wrestling Academy, and all the other great podcasts from Gene Jackson, Bob Smith, Dave Dynasty, and the boys from the Other Ship. And of course, all of those programs also available at your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the Copia world, all the latest news, random thoughts, fun videos, pictures, and more, make sure to join the more than 33,000 followers over at Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. Don't be left out. Please also follow us at the former Twitter, now X, at Wrestling Grenade, and subscribe to YouTube.com/Wrestling Grenade. Would also greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review at your favorite podcast apps, guys, because every positive review makes our podcasts more visible in the algorithms, if you will, which allows us to continue to grow. Now, for those who have been asking about merchandise, WrestleCopia merch, you can find plenty of designs for our t-shirts, hats, magnets, stickers, coffee mugs, and more over at the TeePublic store. That is tpublic.com/user/WrestleCopia. And last but definitely not least, it's what keeps the entire machine going. I'm talking about patreon.com/WrestleCopia. Now with 3 major tiers and tons of Patreon exclusive next level content for our supporters. Remember guys, no subscription, cancel any time, but I think you'll like the content that we're offering there for any budget you may have. And you can sign up right now, patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We appreciate your support in helping us pay the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network running and enabling us to continue to bring you all the quality programming that we offer.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
All right, we are back here on the Grenade, episode 203. We kick things off with show number 2 here this week. It's the June 25th, 89 edition of the WWF's Wrestling Challenge. All right, we are here at Challenge, June the 25th, 1989, tape back June 7th, Rockford, Illinois, at the Metro Center. Another new set of tapings is General Manager of the Met Center, Brad Walsh, welcoming us to the city of Rockford and to the center itself, which he says hosts more than 160 events each and every year. WWF, one of the finest. And then it's off to the commentary table with Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and the Wrestling Challenge broadcast debut of Tony Schiavone. So we get a big shift here in the announce booth. Tony now taking over the responsibilities of the play-by-play guy. Gorilla says his new duties are the color man. Where does that leave Bobby Heenan? The third wheel. What's he going to do? We'll have to wait and see here as we go to the ring. Bobby Heenan going to try to get a word in edgewise. Something tells me it won't be that hard. To the ring for tag team action, going to see Luke and Butch the Bushwhackers battle Dusty Wolf and Jim Merkel. As we get more discussion of the announcers' new roles, Gorilla explaining to Bobby, your new job, I guess, you're an analyst, a journalist. Bobby says he didn't ask for any of those jobs. Perhaps a secretary role, Gorilla suggests. We don't know what's going to happen with the Brain here, but we do get an insert promo from the precision machine known as the Brainbusters. Arn and Tully not worried about the cog that is the Bushwhackers. Luke and Butch, as the action begins, we see a nice product placement of merchandise for the brand new Bushwhackers hat. They're wearing him to the ring here, sticking him on the announcer, sticking him on the referee, and hanging him over the corner post. Buy the hat! Lots of licking and whacking before the Whackers beat up on Dusty Wolf, still Dusty for now, and land a double clothesline, a little bite on the schnoz for Mr. Wolf before he tags out to Jim Merkel. Tags in, eats the battering ram and double gutbuster, putting the Bushwhackers over 3 minutes, 15 seconds. And I strongly encourage anybody who has access to this episode. I also posted this on social media, so you can give it a try there on my Facebook and Twitter accounts. Sorry guys. Still getting the hang of that. Bobby Heenan's shtick here during the commentary of this Whackers match is just second to none. First, talking to Gorilla Monsoon right on the headset as if Tony can't hear him. Trying to get rid of Tony Schiavone off commentary, and when Gorilla's not biting, Bobby, without missing a beat, switches to Tony and trying to get Gorilla Monsoon off of commentary. Classic stuff from the Brain, guys. I encourage anybody to go back and check it out. Bobby Heenan at his finest. As we go off now to Special Report, and Lord Alfred Hayes going back to last week's Honky Tonk attack on the Superfly again for the Brother Love Show replay of the Honky Tonk promo we got on Superstars. As this week's No Holds Barred shill comes into play here, an older gentleman being interviewed here after the movie says he really enjoyed the major motion picture known as No Holds Barred. And I hope to enjoy our upcoming matchup featuring Rick Martel in the ring, battling Red Tyler. And of course, Martel, currently managed by the Doctor of Style Slick, and Rick dancing his way into the ring, eerily similar to the way Akeem dances. And remember, Akeem does it to be funny. Martel simply copying Akeem because I guess he thinks this is dancing, the arm movements, if you will. No rhythm in Rick Martel, certainly no soul, but he's a fine craftsman in the ring as the bell sounds. We're going to get underway in a moment. But we also get an insert promo from Slick and Martel, who has hatred in the eyes for Taco Breath Tito Santana. Now, during the bout, Bobby Heenan informing us also on commentary at this point. We heard $1 Million Man do it on Superstars. It's Bobby Heenan informing us that Jake Roberts has undergone neck surgery. There's your broadcast journalism. Jake apparently had a disc removed from his neck, courtesy of the $1 Million Man, and that Jake's in-ring career may be over. So the announcement made here on Challenge as well. As the action gets going, Rick Martel bouncing around, showing off in between his offense here. Nice cartwheel from Martel. Eat your heart out, Hillbilly Jim. Brief Tito chants break out in the crowd as Martel gets upset, applies his patented Boston Crab, but Rick going to release the crab just in time, trying to prevent referee Danny Davis from calling for the bell, begging Davis, don't call for the bell. I'm not done with this guy yet. As a gut wrench suplex sets up a top rope knee drop. Rick Martel showing off his violent streak here, getting the win in 2 minutes and 22 seconds. There was a lot more reference this week to the Tito Santana feud. I know the Fallout, Strikeforce imploding, if you will, at WrestleMania 5. And these guys have been feuding since that time. But in recent weeks, Martel hasn't really dug into Tito too much. But this week, very much on the front burner was the Santana-Martel feud. Turning it up for the summer house shows, I would imagine. As we go off now to a replay from last week, we saw Hulk Hogan encouraging, persuading, downright threatening his Hulkamaniacs to go see No Holds Barred or else, brother. Hogan stating that he's going to body slam the Hulkamaniacs who don't go out and see his movie. Is this the beginning of Hollywood Hulk Hogan? Well, it's back to the ring for Haku, no longer the king, with Bobby Heenan in his corner. Though the crown's still on the tights of Haku here, taking on Todd Becker. I mean, who's going to tell him, right? It's Haku. Becker surprisingly gets a hold of Haku's arm, trying to do a little arm work early on the Polynesian. Doesn't last very long. Haku clearly just toying with Becker before taking over with a nasty chop, striking Todd down before the thrust kick to the face. Holy shit, to the face. Does it every time, but especially this time. Becker goes down, Haku goes over in just 1 minute and 18 seconds flat. Haku coming for that crown, stolen by that no-good Jim Duggan. As the action continues on, Brutus the Barber Beefcake still strutting and cutting here, even with his new haircut. The Barber battling Tom Burton. It's the high knee into the sleeper hold. Going to give Beefcake the win in just 1 minute, 51 seconds. And of course, that strutting does lead to some cutting on Burton's hair post-match. Beefer, though, still working with Savage on some of the house shows, the smaller cities that Hogan can't be a part of, brother. Keeping the short haircut here as a reminder of revenge on the Macho Man Randy Savage and, of course, Scary Sherry. Beefcake going to be factored into the summer here of the Macho Man. But speaking of Mach, we're going to see him pop up here in just a moment. But first, it's special interview time. Up on the platform, Mean Gene Okerlund brings out the real star of No Holds Barred. I'm talking about ZEUS. And of course, we're going to see footage here of ZEUS in action during the filming of No Holds Barred, beating down Stan Hansen in his dreams. ZEUS arriving on the platform and upset that the big time yellow, well, big time red and yellow anyway, but the big time yellow is what ZEUS refers to Hulk Hogan here. I get where he's going. ZEUS not happy that Hulk Hogan is referred to as the star of the film. ZEUS wants to destroy Hulkamania. I should mention that ZEUS's familiar beat, I won't call it a theme song, but a beat in the background plays throughout this promo, but we're not done yet. Enter the Macho Man Randy Savage and the sensational Sherry. Arrive up on the platform marveling at the size and the intimidation factor that is ZEUS. Savage says he and ZEUS have something in common, their hatred for Hulk Hogan. The Macho Man suggesting they form a pact that whoever gets their hands on Hogan first will leave just a little bit for the other guy. Savage then announcing his support for ZEUS should the human wrecking machine ever decide to climb into a WWF ring. The Macho Man almost provoking, persuading ZEUS to wrestle here in the WWF. Thanks a lot, Mach. So it begins. The seeds are planted. Perhaps an alliance formed here between the Macho Man and ZEUS, an alliance to end Hulkamania. Then it's back to the ring for the fabulous Rougeau brothers, Jacques and Raymond, with manager Jimmy Hart battling Tim Horner and Chris Zarna. We get an insert promo here from the Rougeaus, who trash talk the Rockers. They state the Rougeaus package is going to explode in the Rockers' face. Egads. The Rougeaus going to attack their opponents from behind after teasing some handshakes. Now the heel's going to clear the ring, and a big old hug, a very warming hug, garners loud boos on the Rougeaus. Now Tim Horner back in the ring, going to clear the ring with a pair of drop kicks for both Jacques and Raymond, and more hugging on the outside from the Rougeau brothers. As Chris Zarna going to tag in, and the heels quickly taking over. Lots of double teaming here on Zarna's leg, and a very lengthy Raymond Rougeau applied Boston Crab eventually leads to Jacques Rougeau with a knee drop to the back of Zarna's head while locked in that crab, all done behind the referee's back. And that's going to score the victory here. Raymond jumping on top, making the cover, getting the win, 3 minutes and 48 seconds. And boy, When I say a lengthy Boston Crab spot, I mean a lengthy Boston Crab spot. Kind of an interesting style the Rougeaus have put together in recent weeks here as a unit, a heel unit, mind you. And we were first told about it on Superstars. We're reminded about it here on Challenge. SummerSlam is coming, and it's time to feel the heat. And it won't be the last time we plug that down your throats, but we go off now to Dusty Rhodes vignette, a replay of the Pizza Man. Yeah, Dusty Rhodes delivering the Americana pizza. That was the very first vignette we ever saw on Superstars. Again, we have flip-flopped. We're now seeing it here on Wrestling Challenge, so we may have to wait a few more weeks for Big Dust to arrive on our TV screens in the ring, if you will. As yet another elder statesman of the world putting over at No Holds Barred, we're talking with another senior citizen here who enjoyed the film. Not sure if he even knew what he was watching. Probably thought it was Cocoon. 'Twas the 80s. As we go back to the ring, one more matchup here this week on Wrestling Challenge featuring the Birdman. Oh yeah, Koko Beware battling Jim Megan. We get an insert promo here from the Birdman, who shows off his new style and flair, his new hairdo, if you will, the paint on the sides of the head, claiming he has a host of new wrestling moves as well. Oh yeah, gonna have to wait and see for that. A newer, flashier Birdman, Koko Beware, but he needs to upgrade the music as he gets to the ring here. Pile driver just too slow for me. We need something upbeat here for the Birdman. As Bobby Heenan referring to Koko's new hairdo as Afro Turf. Yeah, he did that. We get a top rope leg drop during the matchup, which doesn't last long. I don't remember Koko using that move again. But a top rope leg drop overshadowing Hulk Hogan's leg drop. What were you thinking, brother? But the Ghostbuster putting Megan away in 2 minutes and 32 seconds. I wrote, where were the new moves, Koko? We saw one new move. Rather than the missile drop kick, we get a leg drop off the top rope, which again was different, but it doesn't last very long. If you're going to promote new moves, I mean, maybe use them. I don't recall Koko having any new moves, though, so we'll see where this plays out. Now, going into the finish, Gorilla Monsoon referring to the Ghostbuster as the Ghetto Blaster. So Tony Schiavone then, in turn, accidentally also referring to the move as the Ghetto Blaster as well. And somehow they leave this all in post-production. Although instant replay, they get it right. It is indeed the Ghostbuster, the Brainbuster, getting Koko the win here on Wrestling Challenge. And I know a lot of people crap on the blonde-haired gimmicks and things of that nature, but I was a big fan of this Koko. As a kid, I loved the bright flashiness, the gold attire, the neon yellows and greens and things of his trunks. Painting him up like the macaw, like Frankie. I had never put two and two together. I didn't realize he was trying to mimic the parrot, if you will. I just thought he looked cool. But that's me. So Koko Beware picking up a win here on TV as we go off now to a video of Mean Gene Okerlund interviewing a fan about No Holds Barred when he's interrupted by actor Kurt Fuller, who is actually playing the character from the movie here for this interview, Brell. From No Holds Barred, Brell says, that wasn't a movie, that was a travesty. Well, you got that right. Brell stating the movie was supposed to be ZEUS destroys Hulk Hogan, not Hogan destroying ZEUS. Hulk Hogan went in and had the script changed, brother. Boy, some things never change. Brell very unhappy with the finish of No Holds Barred. Everything was turned around on ZEUS. ZEUS was robbed. Boy, it would have been great to see Brell, the character here in the WWF, would have been a perfect fit in any time frame, but much less here when ZEUS was part of the company. And that's going to conclude this week's Wrestling Challenge. We learn next week on the program, the Rockers will be here, along with the Superfly, back in action after the attack from the Honky Tonk Man, plus the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, Dino Bravo, Mr. Perfect. The Twin Towers are here. Hey, double duty next week. We know the Red Rooster's on Superstars, but he's also on Wrestling Challenge. Cock-a-doodle-doo. And if that wasn't enough, a special interview from King Hacksaw once again. But he won't be alone. He's going to have Hillbilly Jim by his side. What's that about? Now, as we wrap up this week's syndicated package, I didn't notice Ronnie Garvin as referee this weekend. Kind of peculiar that they left Rugged Ron or Referee Ron off of both programs. But we still have one little quick piece of business here for you guys. We go off now to Primetime Wrestling, June 26th, 1989.
welcome once again to Primetime Wrestling. I'm Gorilla Monsoon. As you can see by the empty chair, the brain, he left early last week, and obviously, I don't know what's going to happen, whether he's going to show up here this week or... Well, excuse me. Would you like to put your microphone on? You left here early last week. You come in late this week. Don't you want to be part of this program anymore?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, yeah.
Well, the way you treat me out here and abuse me.
Why'd you bail out on me last week?
Because I'm not going to take any more abuse like that from you or anybody else.
Suppose I'd have left. Then
I would have been very, very happy.
We'd have been in a lot of trouble then, right?
No, then you can have your nitwit friend out here with the bald head talk all day long.
You can't talk about Mean Gene like that.
I can talk about that little
he always spoke well of you,
all I
Brain.
want.
He always spoke well of you.
Yeah, I heard what he said out here.
Even though you continued to insult him all the time. Just because your man Ravishing Rick is on the program today, you think you can come in here and do whatever you please? You don't even know what the program is, do you?
Prime
Don't have a clue. Yeah, the name of the program is Prime Time. Didn't do any homework whatsoever.
I'm the host. That's all I need to know.
Don't even know what the feature match is.
Roll it. We'll see.
We're not ready to roll it, folks. Jim the Anvil Neidhart against the Hammer Valentine. That's the feature.
I knew that.
Yeah, you knew that.
Are you going to behave?
Am I going to behave? It's not a question of whether I behave or not.
You're going to treat me with dignity and respect?
Let's go to ringside right now and take a look at Mr. Perfect.
Roll it.
All right, hosted as always, you hear it there, Gorilla Monsoon, and Bobby Heenan is back. After leaving the program mid-episode last time around, Bobby getting fed up with Gorilla as of late, both on Challenge and Primetime. Feels like we're leading somewhere, guys. We hear there, Bobby Heenan is back, but unhappy with recent situations. And of course, Gorilla replacing Heenan mid-show with Mean Gene. Luckily, Mean Gene was in studio last week. We'll see if Bobby sticks around for this edition of Primetime. Spoiler alert, he does. Only to leave with just a minute to go. Bobby Heenan taking his stuff and going home. Well, this week was kind of interesting. We had no exclusives, but they are now airing upcoming syndicated matches 1 to 2 weeks early here on Primetime with alternate commentary featuring Tony Schiavone and Alfred Hayes, and eventually Sean Mooney going to be in that mix as well. So as we lose the Spectrum and we lose the Boston Garden, we have a lot less house show matches to pull from. MSG is being renovated right now, so we are getting some matchups from the Meadowlands, Nassau, etc. And of course, some dark matches here as well from the TV tapings. But this week, it wasn't meant to be not a single exclusive matchup, unless you count the matches that haven't aired yet on the syndicated television. But the issues continue to brew between Bobby and the Gorilla, so stay tuned, see what happens there. But for this week, time to wrap up the Grenade. Want to thank everybody for being a part here of the program. As always, lots going on. The Widowmaker has arrived. Jake Roberts, we learned, is indeed out until the fall. They're playing it here on TV that he may never return. We get the new look Koko Beware on syndicated TV. Lots of the house show matches being played up to, of course, Haku and Jim Duggan, Rick Martel and Tito Santana, Brainbusters and Bushwhackers, of course, Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior. That's going to have a big blow off here before too long. Lots going on in the World Wrestling Federation. And hey, how about this? A little less No Holds Barred in our life this week, because I do believe this is the final week that No Holds Barred is in the theaters. I could be wrong, maybe one more week in some markets, but for the most part, removed from the movie theaters was No Holds Barred here by the end of June. Although that doesn't prevent Gorilla from encouraging everybody to continue to go out and see it, or Hulk Hogan for that matter. So if it is still in your market, and I've had some Canadian fans mention on my social media that it was very hard to find No Holds Barred up in the country of Canada when it was released here in the States. So not exactly an international hit, but definitely eventually a cult classic on videotape release. I know that's how I first saw it anyway. All right, guys, going to wrap it up this week. When we return, it's going to be July news and results, breaking down everything going on in the month of July here for 1989 of the World Wrestling Federation. Another month of TV ahead as well. Hopefully, we'll have another special guest for you before too long, perhaps on the next episode, depending on how time permits, scheduling and whatnot, especially here in the summer. A lot of people have a lot of things going on. We understand that here at WrestleCopia. Speaking of WrestleCopia, I encourage everybody to go out and give the Patreon a try. Boy, we've got something like 8 video casts going on right now, part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. And also stay tuned to our social media, for live streams of the WrestleCopia hotline. Send in your questions, comments, thoughts, not necessarily about the product here at WrestleCopia, but things you've always wanted to know, my opinions, share your opinions. It's totally interactive, totally live when we go on at the WrestleCopia hotline. Be a part of it. Ha! Call the hotline. But we are going to wrap it up this week. Just a quick reminder again, patreon.com/WrestleCopia, the all-access tier, the VIP tier, the ultimate tier, and the ultimate tier plus await you. So many video casts, so many other great perks, showing my appreciation for you guys who keeps this entire network a-moving. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this week, guys. Be back soon. More Wrestling Memory Grenade right around the corner. Until then, this is Ray Russell saying from pillar to post and coast to coast, you pull the pin, I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. See you next week. Don't miss it. Be there.
We'd have been in a lot of trouble then, right?
No, then you can have your nitwit friend out here with the bald head talk all day long.
You can't talk about Mean Gene like that.
I can talk about that little
He always
Adolf
spoke
Hitler
well
lookalike
of you,
all I
Brain.
want.